This Jake Paul Mike Tyson fiasco has been going on for a long time now, and I actually started to tap out of the whole thing because every day there's a new headline. This is fixed, this is rigged, somebody has an ulcer, Hulk Hogan says that this is too dangerous for Mike Tyson, and we'll have a look at all them headlines in a minute. So today I stumbled across another headline that did actually pique my interest. New terrifying footage of Alex Pereira's amateur career as a boxer has emerged, and we'll show you that in a minute. It is actually quite terrifying. I know that the headlines are doing what they're supposed to be doing in terms of big bulletin news, but I actually watched the footage and it is terrifying. This dude can bang and this dude can scrap, and the fact that Jake Paul was calling him out in the first place I thought was retarded, and I didn't actually give any credence to it. And I was thinking about the Mike Perry fight, and I was like, okay, so Mike Perry was like what, 5'7", 5'8", and like 30 or 40 pounds lighter than Jake Paul, and everyone was going on about how Jake Paul is so dangerous. Hulk Hogan is saying that, like, I watched that fight, I saw the 1-2 that he unleashed, and I was thinking, if he goes in there against Mike Tyson, which he's scheduled to do, then he's going to kill this guy. And the chain reaction off the back of that is a load of articles and a load of clickbait. So I wasn't giving too much credence to this new emerging footage. As I said, I'll show it to you in a minute. It was actually crazy. But if we look back at stories like this, look, you're a wannabe, you're a fake. UFC legend goes off on pathetic Jake Paul's attitude towards Mike Tyson. This is what I was talking about recently in my videos in terms of ex-fighters or current commentators who are actually badasses, who are great on the mic, who just don't go that extra mile to tell the truth, and if they did, they would be at legendary status. Michael Bisping is one of these lads. Tough mother. He's in there. He doesn't like what Jake Paul is doing. I don't think that Jake Paul should be going in there fighting Mike Tyson. I think he's absolutely crazy. I think with all the stipulations and all these headlines that you hear that the fight mightn't go ahead because Mike Tyson has to pass a medical the day of the fight. I'm sure something weird like that might happen. If it actually comes to fruition and Jake Paul goes in there and does what he did to Mike Perry. Now, let me just put a little caveat on that. In my mind, because I don't like Jake Paul, I think I overlooked that whole fight against Mike Perry. I know it was a huge weight difference, I know all that sort of stuff, but I actually watched the footage of it there this morning, and in fairness to Hulk Hogan, it was pretty vicious. Left hook stunned him, wobbled him, bang, right hands, overhand floppy left, bang. Like that finishing 1-2 from Jake Paul right there. Like, to have the tenacity, to have the juice, to have all the acne, helping you to batter these smaller lads, helping you to batter non-fighters and basketball players and YouTubers and all this type of stuff. And we know what happened when he fought an actual boxer. He lost that fight. But people were pinning hopes on Mike Perry because he is a badass within his own weight division, of course. And we didn't get to see Jake Paul get sparked out. We have guys like Joe Rogan who are shilling for Mike Tyson, saying he's still one of the baddest men on the planet. At the end of the day, I think he's going to be 58, 59 when this fight comes to fruition. And I think the tenacity, the juice, the acne, the annoyance, the energy of Jake Paul coming forward with big floppy 1-2s like that. If he hits Mike Tyson, that's dangerous. If we see the same type of knockout on Mike Tyson as we saw against Mike Perry, that's dangerous for Mike Tyson. And I don't know who's interested in watching that. Like, I'm not. So on the Michael Bisping podcast, he went in on Jake Paul talking all this shit, trying to make it sound like this is a real fight. He said, listen man, you're a joke. You're a disgrace to the combat world. I don't even think you should be including Jake Paul in the combat world. I don't think so. You're an imposter, you're a wannabe, you're a fake. Challenge yourself. You're pathetic, man. You're a pathetic individual. Fighting is about challenging yourself. Granted, business. You're killing it in that regard. But don't give me this fighter bullshit. That's what gets on my nerves. And I actually echo his thoughts here because I hate the idea of Jake Paul being called a fighter or a combat sports person. He's a YouTuber with a lot of money who's picked and chose all of his fights so far. And as Dana likes to say, look at the facts and look at the stats. He fought one boxer. He lost that fight. Is he still a dangerous dude? Of course, because he's juiced up to the neck. Do I think the fight should be going ahead? No, I don't, because it's dangerous, as I just alluded to. If he hits Mike Tyson the way he hit Mike Perry, you can imagine the narcissism within his own consciousness here, just like electrifying through the roof. This guy is going to think that he's one of the biggest people in combat sports, when in fact, he's a joke and he is pathetic, like Michael Bisping said. And this kind of plays into this terrifying footage of Alex Pereira, because Jake Paul is so deluded that he actually thinks that he's a fighter, and he's actually calling out UFC champions, and not just like any champion. They're not smaller lads, they're Alex Pereira. This dude is a savage, this dude is nasty, this dude hits like a train. And yes, you can have your criticisms of Alex Pereira and his career and how his fights are being chosen, but he did smack them out off Israel Adesanya, who is supposed to be a Hall of Famer, all-time generational skill set. Broke him up, man, broke him up bad. Sean Strickland, one left hook, boom, down like a wet shit. The list goes on and on of Alex Pereira dropping people. And this new terrifying footage, whilst I don't agree with putting Alex Pereira's terrifying footage in the same category as Jake Paul wanting to fight him after he beats Mike Tyson, I do think it's interesting, and I do think it is really terrifying. We'll have a little look here. He stands no chance. Jake Paul urged not to fight Alex Pereira after terrifying amateur boxing footage emerges of the UFC star flatlining opponents. Let's have a look at the footage, because it is mental, and I don't know who's saying he stands no chance. Before we even look at the footage, we shouldn't be talking about Jake Paul fighting UFC stars, or UFC champions no less. Genie, stop giving him airtime. Boom. Like, let's have a little look at this. So here we have Alex Pereira in blue, amateur bout, watch him stepping in, watch this right hand, and watch the results. Boom, down, like a wet shit. Left hook there, absolutely KO'd him. In terms of amateur bouts, in terms of terrifying footage emerging, the way that guy hits is actually terrifying. That overhand right there, boom, not floppy, not a big wavy windmill one like Jake Paul versus Mike Perry and everyone else that he's fought. These are clinical. As for the left hook, which we know and we've seen over and over again put out some of the best people in UFC, Hall of Famers getting KO'd with that left hook, and we see it there emerging in the amateur bouts. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about this. I'm kind of confused. Should I be pushing for the idea of Jake Paul being eradicated from the combat sports fighter industry, or should we be pushing for this fight? Should we be pushing for that bout to actually take place? Some sort of event outside of the UFC, if Alex Pereira got permission and if there was money to be made by the UFC, could this actually happen? Obviously, we'd all be looking for the exact same results as we've seen in the amateur bout there, and pretty much everyone else that he's come up against in the UFC. It would be nice to see that pathetic, juiced up loser get KO'd like that. It would be absolutely beautiful. I don't think that's what we're in for if the Mike Tyson fight goes ahead. I think we're in for the inversion of that, where we're all going, this is disgusting. How did we leave it happen? Who actually wanted to watch this? I think that it warrants enough of a conversation to make it into newspapers and tabloid headlines that Jake Paul shouldn't be fighting Alex Pereira, or maybe he should. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. And let me know if you think this Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing is going to go ahead at all. Or maybe you agree with Hulk Hogan and that Jake Paul is just too strong. He's too much of a badass, and that 1-2 combination is too much for anybody to handle. Mike Tyson and even Alex Pereira. Let me know down below. Hit like, subscribe, and share if you liked it. Cheers.